so you guys understand, in Harley Davidson, to run a dealership this size and be a woman is just not heard of very often. There's probably not 10 of us in the country. So to me, these women paved the road. They are the godmothers of female writing. To me, they just walk on water, because without them, I don't exist. So just so you know, I can't even tell you how much that I appreciate, and I can't even make sense out of how much you guys mean to me. Because without you, I'm nothing. I'm just not here, because you made the way. So let me introduce and let our gentlemen bring to the stage Betty Robinson Falls and Gloria Tremonton Struck. Okay. So everybody grab your pictures quickly, because I'm going to move forward. Okay, so just so you understand the magnitude of this, these women have been writing over 70 years. Not only have they been writing over 70 years, but they are part of one of the oldest, they are part of the oldest female writing organization in the country, the Motor Maids. So give them a round of applause. Yeah. And to kind of give you some kind of history behind that, Betty, raise your hand so everybody knows you. Betty's mother, Dot Robinson, was one of the founding members of the Motor Maids back in 1941, just so you guys kind of get that. Her family, her grandfather had a Ulysses dealership, correct me if I'm wrong, a Ulysses and bicycle dealership, and her parents were going to buy a dealership. Now, Arthur Davidson said, why don't you buy your grandfather's motorcycle dealership? And they said, well, we don't have $3,000. This is during the Depression. We don't have $3,000. We don't have $3,000. So Arthur Davidson pulled out his checkbook, and without a signature, without anything but a handshake, wrote a check for $3,000. Hello? Okay, now it's good. Wrote a check for $3,000. And on his word, on her parents' word, paid for that dealership. Because that's what you did back then. It wasn't about a contract or an agreement. It was about integrity and honesty, and they bought that dealership. And that dealership was in business until 1971. God bless them, because they paved the way. So give her a round of applause. So Gloria, her family, your family got their first dealership in 1915. Hello, that was a long time ago. I wasn't here. I was nowhere even thought of. Her family still owns their own dealership. They call that dealership Old 99. That's Tremonton Harley Davidson in New Jersey. Give her a round of applause. Okay, so these women, I couldn't even believe that they agreed to be here. But what we're going to do is I'm going to ask a couple questions, and then as you have questions that feed off of my question, raise your hand. I will run to you like the old Donahue days, and we will ask the questions. And that's how we're going to do this. So if you have a question, raise your hand, because it's going to get answered. Okay? Can I ask the first question, please? Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to kind of have them tell their names and tell them who they are and a little bit about themselves, okay? And then I'm going to start getting into specifics. Okay. So, Betty, tell them a little bit about yourself.
I'm Betty Robinson Falls. I've been riding over 70 years. I've been in the motor maids for 68 years. My mom, of course, was co-founder of the motor maids. And the motor maids is a group of women who ride. You must ride your own bike. And we have girls that ride thousands of miles every year. I don't know how many motorcycles I've had, but they've all been Harleys. Of course, the reason for that is that my parents were dealers and I got them free. Until I got married. I used to get a new one every year. I got married and I got a new one about every 10 years. But my husband rode too. I couldn't have married anyone who didn't ride. That's about it.
All right, Gloria, tell us a little bit about you. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, my father started the motorcycle business in 1915. He was actually Excelsior Henderson dealer, and he died as a result of a motorcycle accident. He was hit by a car in 1928. I had just turned 3 years old 3 weeks before he died. My mother took over the business. She became an Indian dealer in the 30s and 40s. And when she retired in 1947, my brother took over as a Harley dealer. So I owned 3 Indians before I started on my 11 Harleys. And I have to pay for my bikes. I don't get them free. But anyway, I started riding in 1941. My brother one day said to me very, joyfully, "I'm going to teach you how to ride a motorcycle today." And I said, "No, you are not. I do not want to ride a motorcycle. I won't do it." Well, he sweet-talked me into it because actually his wife, my sister-in-law, was a motor maid before I became one. So, so I started to ride. And that was in 1941. I was 16 years old. So I've been riding for 74 years. And, yeah. And like it says back there, I've come a long way, baby. My daughter also rides, and she's a motor maid too. So we're kind of a mother-daughter team. We ride, we ride every year to Daytona. In the wintertime, it's cold, because we're from New Jersey. I live 10 miles from New York City. And, it's a cold ride, and I don't have anything heated. So I'm pretty tough. But
just so you know, I am a wuss. I have heated gear.
But so anyway, and we ride to Sturgis every year, and we ride to Motor Maid conventions. And last year we rode to Bend, Oregon, which was a Motor Maid convention. What was that?
Keep going.
And that was the Motor Maid convention last year. Motor Maid's conventions are west, central, east. So this year it'll be Texas. That's central. And next year it'll be east up in New Brunswick, Canada. Then we'll go back out west again. So when I'm 91, I will be riding out west again somewhere or other. And we also will be out west somewhere when I'm 100. So... And I ride two wheels, and I will always ride two wheels. If I can't, then that's the time the good Lord's telling me to hang up my helmet. But I think that's my goal. I always have goals. And, so I hope I can make it. But I've been inducted into the Sturgis Hall of Fame in 2011. And what else can I say? I love to ride, and I love to meet all you ladies, because you know something. When we started riding way back, and like I said, I started riding in 1941, I was refused gas one time, heading for Daytona. I've been riding to Daytona since 1951, when the races used to be on the beach. And I was also refused room for the night. But I'll tell you something. This past Daytona, I spent $262 for one night down there. And back in 1950, I spent $3 a night.
Nice.
So, nothing's forever. But it delights me to see all you women riding today, because back in our day, it was very unusual to see a woman ride. And men didn't really like that, but we were kind of infringing on their sport. And we were called names, at least I was called names, and not nice names either. And we just ignored it, because you know something, you know what you want to do, and you do it. And I also tell people to live your dreams, because when I was 25, the picture that's back there, and the painting of me, I was on a 1950 brand new Harley, and I was 25 years old in that picture, and the cards that were given to you. And at that time, people didn't even travel around the United States much, That wasn't a thing. Like today, people go all over the United States and they take tours and everything. Those days, it was mostly people rode just locally. But the motor maids were always long-distance riders. And I had a feeling that time that I wanted to ride my motorcycle in Europe. Now, I had never heard of anybody even speak about riding motorcycle in Europe in those days. Now they have tours and everything. So that was when I was 25. So all of a sudden one day, I was 74 years old, and I didn't do it yet. So I took my son into coming with me. We took our motorcycles on the plane. You can do that, And we flew over to Europe. We had a tour guide from New Jersey waiting for us over there. And we did all the alpine regions of Europe. In fact, I rode the Stelvio Pass. And if anybody has a rider magazine from, I think it was March or April of this year, there's a whole full page of that pass. And my son was standing in the same place when he took a picture of that pass. So whoever took that picture for that magazine had to be standing in Switzerland, because it's in northern Italy and it borders in Switzerland. Well, I'll tell you, when I rode that pass, I thought no woman in her right mind would be doing this, because it was not rounded curves. It was to the point, and you were sometimes climbing almost straight up. And there were 41 of those turns going up and 41 coming down. And when we got back to Murano, my son and I, the tour guide said to me, "You drove the Stelvio Pass?" And I says, "Yes, I did." He says, "Well, you deserve a medal." And I says, "You're damn right I do."
Okay, let me ask you a question. I've been asked by 3 people in the last 2 minutes, so I got to ask. Betty, tell us how you came home from the hospital. When you were born. Tell us.
Oh, yeah.
In a sidecar.
Now, just so you guys understand, Murphy, her her grandfather invented the sidecar? Murphy. Murphy, for those of you who don't know, Murphy rides a bike with a sidecar. And Betty's, well, let's go a little farther. When Betty's mother went into labor, is that right?
I think her mom.
No, it was her grandfather. I read it today. I made sure I read it.
But didn't your mom refuse to drive the car? Didn't she light the car on fire or something so she didn't have to drive the car?
Well, my father decided that they should have a car. All they had were motorcycles. So he brought a car home. And Mom said, "What's that?" And he said, "Well, you have to have a car. We're having a baby." She said, "We don't need a car." Well, that night, the car burned to the ground. And Dad declared that she did it, and she said she didn't, but I don't know.
Right? See, and just so you guys know, Murphy rides her bike and her husband rides in the sidecar. Just so you know. Woo! Wiz rides in the sidecar and Murphy drives the bike. So who wears the pants in that family? So let's talk for a minute. Betty and Gloria, let's talk about safety. Because you remember, guys, let's go back. When these women started to ride, there were no helmets. Okay? In Florida, helmets are an option of what you want to do. But let's hear from these women about when helmets weren't an option, where there were no helmets. So let's talk about safety. Let's hear from each of you what it was like to ride back then when the safety wasn't what it is today. So Betty, talk to us about before there was the safety equipment there are and how you guys protected yourself.
Actually, we didn't. You just had to find something to keep your hair down. And we had hats with bills and like bandanas. It was a real problem deciding what to put on your head. And it was really great when helmets came out. Because then you had no option. I mean, you just wear a helmet. And I don't ever go without one.
Now understand, when helmets first came out, it wasn't like you walked into the Harley dealership and bought them. You had to order them online and they might fit. Understand, that's how this works. So, or not online, I'm sorry, through a catalog. I apologize, I'm way past that. You had to order them through a catalog and they might fit. I'm so sorry. Keep going, Betty.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
About what?
Talk about safety equipment, Gloria.
Safety tips. Well, you know, I've known of several accidents. Women who were new riders were riding with people or groups that were actually riding too fast for the newbies. And I always say, if you don't feel comfortable riding with someone or a group, and you just, use your common sense and just slow down and ride at your own speed. These women went off the road. One was killed. One was hurt very badly from the fact that they couldn't keep up and they were on curvy roads. So all I can say is use your, Use your common sense and just be careful. Eventually, you will be able to keep up with anybody and even surpass them. But, yeah, but, just use caution.
What I always say is never ride faster than your guardian angel can fly. That's the word. Question. No? Okay, let me ask another question. Who do we have to, any questions out there? Am I missing somebody? Yes, ma'am. Favorite rides. What was your favorite ride? Betty, what was your favorite ride?
Well, Mom, when I was 16, decided that I should see the country. Well, I'd already seen a bunch of it because we spent every summer riding to all the races. But we took off, went out to California, went up Pikes Peak when there was no pavement, and Yellowstone, and just all over. I think it was about 17,000 miles. So I saw the country.
Wow. All right, Gloria, what was your favorite ride?
Well, my favorite ride was, like I said, I had the dream of riding my motorcycle in Europe. Well, the second time, my son and I, we couldn't fly out of Newark, New Jersey anymore because the EPA stopped us from doing that. So we had to ride up to Montreal and take a fly out from there. We got to Frankfurt, Germany. We rode over 4,000 miles in 8 countries. We have no idea where we were going, what we're going to do, or anything. We just rode, and that was my dream trip.
Wow. All right, let's start with the next question. Here's a good one that I'm sure all of you are thinking of. Betty, how did learning to ride a motorcycle change your life?
Well,
now, this is back in the 30s, guys, so think about this.
I didn't know anything else. I mean, Mother rode, so naturally I wanted to. I don't know what my life would have been, but it wouldn't have been as good, I know that.
Gloria?
Well, I never wanted to ride, but several years back, I said to my brother, "Thank you, brother. I've had the most interesting and adventurous life, and I still am going on yet with that life." So that did change me, my brother.
I have a question out here. Yes, ma'am. So, no, what she said is they had their first female law enforcement officer that rides her, and her name was, I'm sorry? Sherry Motley. Now she rides for Miami-Dade. So she rides for one of the law enforcement officers. Because of what you paved the road for, this woman rides for a profession for Miami-Dade Police Department, the largest police department with riding in the country. Yes, ma'am. What was your favorite motorcycle? Betty, what was your favorite motorcycle?
How many did
Pick
you
your
have?
favorite. Now remember, Betty still has her mother's motorcycle.
I can't say I had a favorite. They were all great.
They
Okay.
were Harleys.
Gloria, what was your favorite motorcycle?
Well, the one that's in the painting back there that David did of me, that was a brand new 1950 Harley. And that one, I traveled pretty much around the country on that all by myself. And of course, you had to kick. You had to know how to kick, but I had no problem with that.
Now, understand, we had a customer in here yesterday, and he's saying, how did you start that motorcycle? And it was a kickstart. And she went through the absolute detail of how to kickstart this motorcycle. He was totally blown away. He knew he couldn't do that.
Yeah, he said he had trouble starting a bike. I said, there's a special formula. I said, you do this and you do that, and then with the key on first kick, off it goes. Yeah. But that was one of my favorite bikes. And the other one was a 1971 Electroglide. I covered a lot of territory on that one, too. I think 6 times I took my bike out of that garage and rode 25,000 miles. And 6 times I pulled it out of the garage.
All right, next question, Betty. What were the social pressures when you learned to ride a motorcycle? What did people say and what did they think about you because you were a female rider before your time?
Well, the first thing Mom did when I got my bike was take it out and lay it down. She showed me how to pick it up.
See?
Because at that time, if you dropped your bike, there could be 20 men around.
And they wouldn't help you.
Not a one would come and pick it up.
Because you weren't supposed to ride your own motorcycle.
Yep.
Now, I drop a bike and there's 10 guys there to pick it up.
Nice. And they all look like this, just so you know. Woo! Very cool. Gloria, what were the social pressures of learning to ride back in the day?
Well, I was called names.
Tell them what names you were called. I mean, we're in the presence of women. Tell them what names you were called for learning to ride your own bike.
Tramp. Whore. Yeah.
They pulled out all the guns there, let me tell you.
I didn't even have a first date yet, and I was called a whore. I didn't pay attention to any of it because I did what I wanted to do, and I enjoyed doing what I wanted to do.
All right, next question. Betty, what was it like to have Dot Robinson, the first lady of motorcycling, as a mother?
She was.
Very intimidating. She was such a go-getter. She was just one of a kind. And I think it's the reason I was so shy and didn't speak up much, because she was so out there.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Dot Robinson was also Gloria's mentor. So, Gloria, what was it like to have Dot Robinson as a mentor?
Well, she was my inspiration, and still is, even though she passed away quite a number of years ago. I still think of her, and she had inspired me so much. And today, I can tell you that this weekend, there was another woman who inspired me very much, and that's Judy Chester. So, you see, people say I inspire them, but I have other people that inspire me. Yeah.
Very nice. Yes, ma'am. What physical ailments over the years have hindered your riding? Has anything stopped you from riding over the years? Adaptations to motorcycles? Now, I'll tell you, Gloria told me that her kickstand, because she still calls it a kickstand, it's not a jiffy stand. Her kickstand extension needs an extension as she keeps shrinking, but...
Well, I'll tell you something happened in Texas. I was flown down to Texas to speak to women riders down there, and they gave us motorcycles to ride because we were leading a charity run, and there were 70 women riding in that charity run. Well, I sat on this new bike, and we're all set to go. The state police were in front of us to lead, and my daughter and I were next, and I couldn't go because I couldn't get the kickstand up. So they quickly came and put in an extension on it. But the bike I have now does have an extension, and now I need, I think, another extension on top of the extension because
We shrink over the years, ladies. It just happened.
Yeah, I used to be almost 5'5", and I'm only 5 foot now. So,
Question right here.
pardon? Oh, I ride a Heritage Softail Classic.
So I got to tell the story. E.B. will kill me. E.B. Chester, who is Judy's husband, we're standing here the other night right over by the store, and Gloria says, and this was before Betty was down here, that she rode 800 and how many miles in one day?
This was going to Sturgis last year. My daughter and I rode 835 miles in one day.
Okay, so E.B. looks at her in the most cynical male way and goes, "You did not."
I was 87 years old when I did that.
She goes, "Yes, I did." So he goes, "What do you ride?" And she goes, "I ride a Heritage Softail Classic." And he goes, "You do not." And she goes, "Yes, I do." Because trust me, E.B. does not ride 800 miles a day, I promise you. Judy might, but E.B. doesn't.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, back in the corner. Stand up, please, so we can see you. All right, how many motorcycles have you had? Betty, do you know how many motorcycles you've had?
I never kept track.
10, 20, 30? What do you think?
Probably 25.
25? Gloria?
I had 14 motorcycles.
14?
Yeah. I'm thinking of getting
Wow.
another one, but I don't know. I have to buy them.
Right? Now imagine having to kickstart your motorcycle. I don't think I could kickstart the motorcycle.
Oh, I had 7 that I started kickstart.
No, not me.
The 1971 Superglide came out kickstart only. But the next year it came out kickstart or electric start because guys didn't know how to start those bikes.
All right, so here's the next question. Generally speaking, and these questions come from all over. Generally speaking, what is the top reason you have heard about why women decide to ride motorcycles? Betty, what do women tell you why they decide to ride motorcycles?
Well, they're tired of riding behind a man. And really, there's so many girls that ride now. So many more than we had. When the Motor Maid started, it started with 51 charter members. And that was all over the United States.
51 in the entire United States.
Yeah.
Think about that.
And now there's girls in every group you see.
Yeah.
Gloria, so generally speaking, what was the top reasons that you have heard why women ride their own motorcycles?
What is the top?
What is the top reasons that women tell you about why they ride their own motorcycles?
Well, I really don't know. I don't think I ever had that conversation with anybody, but I would think that women today are very independent. And especially sometimes people will say to them, "Oh no, you shouldn't do that. Hey, that's all we need to know. We're going to do it."
Tell me I can't do something today. Hello? Okay, just so you know, I I have been told many times, why do you ride your own bike? Because I got to have my finger out and I got to point my own direction. So, I mean, I don't know about you, but that's why I ride, because I got to choose my own path. So for those of you who don't ride, it's the most amazing feeling in the world to decide your own path in your own direction, in your own way, in the own direction that your life goes. And that's just, I can't even tell you, if you haven't rode your own motorcycle, to get on it and to choose your lifestyle and your life direction it's beyond imagination. So I just can't even imagine. Question? All right, don't be a smart aleck. We know you. Okay, so there wasn't a 7-Eleven, there wasn't a gas station, so when you had to use the restroom or you had to go somewhere, where did you stop?
I don't remember ever having a problem. I mean, you went to the outhouse at the service station or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know the half moon thing that's out there? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, the question was, how many original members are left of the Motormaids? Are there any original members left of the Motormaids? And if so, or also, how many current members of the Motormaids are there today? Not to put you on the spot, Cindy, at all, but that would be a question.
Do you want to answer that?
There were 2 original members, and I believe both of them are deceased. Is that
One
correct?
is Helen Kismain. She was originally from Pennsylvania. And I think Grace Hall just died or something.
I don't believe there's
Yeah,
any original members still living. Probably 1,800 current members. Now, understand, in the original Motormaids, it wasn't just that you rode your own bike, that you held a social standard that was equivalent to what they expected. And let's feed into that. Dot Robinson's philosophy is you could still ride a motorcycle and be a lady. That was her philosophy. She actually had a lipstick holder that was chromed and hooked to her handlebars so that when she stopped, she could take her goggles off and put her lipstick on and be ready for the camera, just so you know. Now, understand, she would like finish the races, she would whip the you-know-what out of all these men, she would go back to the hotel room, put on her dress, and go out there and be a lady. That's how she did. That was Betty's mother.
That lipstick is still on that pink bike.
She's still in that pink bike. My shuttle driver said, Kathy, I went to pick her up, and that pink bike is still in her damn garage. And she rides it. Yes, ma'am. The question was, Betty, while you were riding across country, regardless of the time of your own, what was the most dangerous situation that you ever encountered?
We came across some construction on the road, and they had just tarred the road, and for some reason, they put water on it. Well, Mother started down. She fell. I went after. I went down. And there we were with our 2 bikes down, tar all over us. And it took 2 of us to get each of the bikes up. I don't remember how we got out of it. But it took us hours when we got to a motel to clean the bikes and ourselves.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gloria, what was the most dangerous situation you've ever been in while you've been riding a motorcycle?
Well, there's been several of them, but the latest was last year. Coming back from Sturgis, we're riding like 75 miles an hour. My daughter doesn't like to go fast.
Really? Let me
Oh.
tell you, Gloria's philosophy is I am not afraid to twist the throttle.
All right, so let me tell you.
Just saying.
So we're riding along, and I happen to look up, and there's a tire heading for my face.
Oh my God.
I said, I'm dead. Well, it was bouncing, and I could have hit it when it bounced right in front of me, and I would have gone down. But it bounced, and it hit the edge. I have like a bead around my windshield. It's an old windshield. And it kind of bounced and hit that. It threw me, but I managed to hold the bike up. And then it just by inches went over my head and over my left shoulder. Now, my daughter and I, we just kept riding because we wanted to get home. But wait a minute. I didn't know what happened to my daughter. She was leading. So when we finally stopped for gas or something, we looked at each other and we said, what almost happened to us? Well, she saw it coming. You see, there was a hill about half a mile ahead of us, a steep hill. And she saw it coming across the median. It was on the other side of the interstate. And it come bouncing over, and it was aiming for her leg. And it just missed her leg, and then she thought it was going to hit her saddlebag because it sticks out further. She just closed her eyes and hung on, and it didn't touch her. But when she looked in her rearview mirror, she saw it heading for me. And I'll tell you, the good Lord was with us that day.
All right, Gloria, I have to ask a question. Just so you know, Gloria's brother who talked her into riding a motorcycle at age, what, 16?
What?
How old were you when you learned to ride?
Me?
16?
Yeah.
He talked her into ride, but they've never ridden together.
Yeah, and
And now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever ridden with your brother yet?
I'll tell you what happened. The day that the motorcycle shop had its 95th anniversary, the whole family, now the shop is 50 miles away from me. So my daughter rides, my son-in-law rides, and we were all going up as to be part of the family, for this celebration. And my husband at that time was very ill with cancer. I had a hospital bed in the living room, and I gave my son-in-law didn't come with us, I don't think, that day. Yeah, he didn't come with us because he was going to take care of my husband, so I could go up there. So I had everything ready, his food, and I told him what to do, and I said, I'll be right back. As soon as everything's over quickly, I will just stay, and then I'll come right back home. Well, I ended up in emergency with my husband that morning. We were supposed to leave at 9 o'clock, and 8:30, I had to call an ambulance and get him to the ER. And I never rode with my brother. My brother rode until he was 92, and his family made him give up riding. He rode every day. He had three-wheelers with 3 wheels because he could hardly walk. But when he got off the bike, he would use his walker. And that day would have been the day my brother and I would have rode together. And he's 95, I guess, pretty soon. He has an amputated leg now, and he's not doing too well.
Now, just so you know, the state of New Jersey took his motorcycle endorsement away from him because he only had one leg and he kept dropping his motorcycle. Although that is an absolutely determined rider. Right? You do, and he rides great.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. Betty, what is the most miles you've ever ridden in one day?
I think about 750.
Gloria, how many miles have you ridden in one day?
Well, last year, Sturgis, 835
Hello,
miles.
ladies.
Yeah, I was 87 when I did that. I'm going to be 89 in a few weeks. but coming back from Daytona one year, I was 81 or 82 years old. Because of the weather situation, I said to my daughter, we got to do it all the way home in one day, and that's 1,060 miles. So we rode only 850 with heavy traffic, everybody trailing their bikes, heavy traffic. Stop and go before Richmond, Virginia, and but still we were making pretty good time, and we got as far as I think it was Annapolis, and we finally had to stop because my daughter's lights were bad. We were riding 16 hours, and because of the heavy traffic, it held us back somewhat. And her lights were not good, and it started to rain, and we didn't have our warm clothes on, and we hit the line where we were comfortable, and then we were freezing. So I was worried about her. I could have done it all the way home, but well, it's true. My daughter cannot keep up with me. And, well,
Yes.
yeah, so the next day, let me tell you.
I could not keep up with her. Hello? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I didn't finish.
I'm so sorry.
So the next day, when we were supposed to hit these tornadoes and the worst weather you could think of and everything, and that's why we were going to try to make it one day, we woke up expecting the worst. The sun was shining. We had a beautiful 200-mile ride home.
Amazing. Betty, what was the biggest challenge of you learning to ride a motorcycle?
I don't think I had any.
You didn't know any different, did you?
No. Well, it seemed like I didn't have to learn. I'd always been on a bike, and it just came natural. It was no problem.
Now, for those of you who have never ridden a motorcycle, I started with Harley Davidson before I ever learned to ride. When I started with Harley Davidson, I did not know how to ride. I had 2 salespeople, and every time they sent somebody into my office, they would say, ask her what she rides. And the answer was, I don't. I don't have to finance these things to learn how to ride. And eventually I went, never mind, I will learn, forget it, I'm tired of hearing it. And I learned how to ride. It was the most liberating experience of my life. I cannot imagine not having a motorcycle in my garage, in my driveway. We are a road glide family. I have 3 road glides in my garage. Even my 17-year-old rides a road glide. So we are the road glide family. So understand there is nothing past your abilities. The only thing that holds you back is what you believe that you cannot do. That's the only thing that holds you back. There is nothing that you cannot do other than what you believe you cannot do. Okay, these women are proof of that. Now, let me ask one other question. I'm going to ask this question simply because I know the answer. Betty, have you ever taken a motorcycle safety class?
No.
Now, she has lived in the world of motorcycle safety. She learned from the people who taught the class way back when. Gloria, have you ever taken a motorcycle safety class?
No, in fact, I never even took a driving test.
Okay, I've heard this story, so you have to tell the story about taking or riding,
Okay.
getting your license.
I'll tell you, I rode up to Hackettstown, New Jersey, which is like 45 miles from my house. And I'm in line. See, you used to take your test on the road. And I was behind the line of cars waiting to take their test. And all of a sudden, this great big cop, I mean big, goes like this to me. And I went, me? You know, and he said, yeah. So I rode up to him, I'm shaking like a leaf. And he looks at my papers and everything, and he says, you rode this motorcycle all the way from Clifton? I says, yes. He says, well, I guess you know how to ride.
Nice. So Betty told me yesterday that before she could learn to ride, her mother made her learn to pick up a motorcycle. So that for those of you who went back into service tonight and tried to pick up that 900-pound motorcycle, which is 100% metal, which I promise you the one she picked up was heavier than that, because back then there was no
little motorcycle.
There was no fiberglass parts. It was all steel. Okay? So what you felt was heavier than what this woman picked up. Betty, tell us what it was like to have your mother tell you that before you could ride, you had to learn to pick up that bike.
Oh, I picked it up.
Now, remember, at 78 years old, now Betty's 82, she was lifting heavyweight competition. Tell us a story about you lifting heavyweight competition.
Well, I had two friends, both of them younger than me, but we joined the gym and we got tired of just doing the machines. So we asked our trainer if we could try the deadlift. He said,
Deadlift at 78. Are you picturing this, ladies?
so anyway, he kind of snickered and said, sure. So we did, and we surprised him because we liked it and we kept at it. So he entered us in competition. Well, I always won my class because I was the only one in it. But I lived about 175.
175 pounds. Are you kidding me? How many of you, okay, let's be honest, because I'll be honest. How many of you cannot lift 175 pounds on a deadlift? That would be me. Raise your hand. She did this at 78 years old. Betty, how much did you weigh at 178 years, or 100, shoot, at 78 years old, how much did you weigh?
Oh, about 104.
Really? Hello? All right, Gloria, what was the most memorable, amazing motorcycle excursion you've ever been on?
The most amazing
Memorable, amazing motorcycle excursion you have ever been on?
excursion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Quite a few, but one stands out in mind. When our convention, Motormade Convention, was in Chico, California, we went further than just going straight out to, Chico. We went up into state of Washington, Oregon, and there was my daughter on her bike at that time with a 13-year-old daughter on her back, my son-in-law on his bike with his 16-year-old son on the back, and me on my bike, my son on his, so with the whole family. And we covered 7,450 miles because we were up in the state of Washington, went to Chico, and then we went 500 miles south to Los Angeles and met up with Jay Leno and at the Rock Store, and we had quite a trip. But my two grandchildren, my granddaughter and my grandson, have never been on a trip. And my grandson says it was like riding into a hairdryer for 3 weeks. It was very, very hot because our conventions are always in July, and it was very hot. And
For those of you who have ever ridden in Arizona, for those of our hog ladies that were just out here, you have no idea. It's like riding into an oven.
yeah.
Oh. I just have one thing I'd like to say. Here. No. I got a loud mouth. It's okay. I just wanted to tell you all, it's fantastic to see you all out here. You are in the presence of life legends here, okay? These women, I'm a motor maid of 8 years. I went to convention and cried for 3 days because I never fit anywhere. And with these women, I fit for a number of reasons, and I just want you to know why they're so inspirational. It's never been about gender. It's about the passion that's in their heart. They truly live and breathe for motorcycles. It's what they love. They've faced adversity because they are women. And every time they did it, they stood with dignity and grace and femininity. And they never let anybody cram crap down their throat, but they always carried themselves as ladies. So anytime anybody gives you crap, always think of these two right here, because I'm telling you, they chose to be a bigger person and be the women that they are. They've won road races, they've deadlifted, they've done things that you and I can only dream of, and we have no idea how it went in the world they came from. I started riding motorcycles, people used to lock the doors, run red lights, run me off the road. That was in the 80s. Men would steal my motorcycle parts so that I could have to walk home, or tell me, sleep with me, honey, I'll give you a ride. I work on my own stuff. But I wished I would have seen them when I was younger, because I didn't always handle myself with the dignity and the grace that they have always done their whole life. So consider yourself all lucky and thank them very much for being here, because we're in the presence of legends. Thank you. Thank you.
That's absolutely true. We have one other question right over here. A couple other questions. Do you fix your own motorcycles? At some point in your life, did you work on your own bikes? Betty?
I never did. Mom, of course, we had chains, so every evening we'd have to adjust chains, oil them, all that. But Mom did it.
Gloria?
Yeah, I know. I was taught how to change a chain link because I traveled all by myself. And, like she's saying, every 500 miles you had to, or a day's ride, you had to adjust your chain and you had to oil it. And
Today that never happens.
I knew how to change my oil. I was taught that. And I was taught just, little things about it because I traveled alone. So my brother made sure I knew certain things,
Yes, ma'am. Was the African American lady in the photo, was she a motor maid?
No.
Where? I don't think we saw her. I don't think they didn't pick her out. She was behind her. I'm sorry, Cindy. Bessie Springfield from Miami, was she a motor maid? I don't think she was a motor maid. See pictures, they're in dresses. Did you ever rent a dress?
Well, we had a motor maid dress at one time. I still have the material home and the pattern. And this was like 40
Now, I learned
years
this
ago.
from today. Understand this from today. The original motor maid outfit was a royal blue shirt and a navy pants. I heard this today. Now, what that represented, the royal blue shirt was from the north, and the gray pants were from the south. This was a coalition of the states back in the day, okay? Now, Dot Robinson, I was told this today, is rolling over in her grave because they have black pants now, okay? It was meant to bring the North and the South together as one union. So understand there was a history behind this. And the history was to join us as one united women's front. Not this group and that group. It was one united women's front for riding when it wasn't cool to ride. I keep telling these people, and I've said it for weeks now, these women learned to ride when it wasn't cool. It wasn't like it is now, where it was awesome for women to ride and some guy thought, ooh, look, that chick rides her own bike. It wasn't freaking cool back then. These women rode before, they paved the way for us. They rode when it wasn't cool. So understand that. If they dropped their bike or they had a breakdown, it wasn't like there was 10 men coming up to fix whatever it was or to change whatever it was. Nobody touched it. Why? Because they shouldn't have been doing it anyways. Okay? So we, as a group, learning to ride or currently ride, we have to be the women that pave the road for the next generation. They were our mentors. They are the ones who paved the road. Now we have to pave the road for the next generation. How many of you currently ride your own motorcycles? Okay, so half. Now, do you look at yourself every day and say, I get on my bike and I ride because I paved the road for the next generation? I have a 21-year-old daughter now, and I paved the road for her to do what she wants to do. She sent me a text. I said, Amanda, I told her this today on Facebook. I said, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can be better than I was before. I had 75 women at my last garage party. I don't know if I can do better than that. Oh my God, I am so nervous. I am scared. And she said, Mom, I can't is not in your vocabulary. That's what she told me. She says, you can do anything you set your mind to do. All you have to do is say you can, and you can do it. And that's what she told me. But that's what we have to tell our daughters. That's what we have to say. Because our daughters, unfortunately, are still living in a world where I can't exist. Yes, ma'am.
As your hair grayed, was fear of riding any greater as you aged?
So as you aged and as your hair grayed, was the fear of riding greater as you aged than it was when you were younger?
You mean was
I fight it with chemical warfare.
I am working on 70, and I'm looking towards riding as old as you are. But other people, talk about fear of riding and how dangerous it is and blah, blah, blah. And I wondered if you had any words.
So she is working on 70, and she's wondering that as her hair grays and as she ages, she wonders, did you feel more fearful as you aged than when you were younger?
No.
Well, I'll tell you, on my helmet, I have about 4-inch letters, and it says, "Fear me."
Okay, so I've heard this story all day, so I got to hear the story about Fear Me. Tell me the story about Fear Me.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Tell me the story about Fear Me.
I didn't even tell you about it.
I know, so tell me now.
Oh, my God.
Tell me the story about Sturgis
Okay.
and Fear Me.
Okay. 2 years ago at Sturgis, we're watching a concert in Buffalo Chip. And there's a woman comes by. I hope she's not here. There's a woman comes by me, and we're standing up. There's no chairs or anything in Buffalo Chip. And she comes by, and she knocks into me and almost knocked me off my feet. And I thought, and not even, I'm sorry or anything, just kept on going. And I said, wow, how rude. And then we're watching it, and about another hour later, she comes back again and does the same thing to me. Well, I'm not a person, a violent person. And, well, at least I didn't think so. And so without a thought, it was just very automatic. I just made a fist and punched her right in the face. Now, wait a minute. You got to realize this was a big woman. I'm 5 foot tall and I weigh 125 pounds. And she turned around and she's ready to bop me. So one person's holding me back and somebody's holding her back. And my daughter's texting in the middle of it, and she's being jostled all around, and she thought it was her son getting into trouble. Instead, it was her mother. But the next day, I had to do a book signing there were about the Biker Chicks book. I don't know if anybody has it, but there's about 20 women in it. And the next day we were doing a book signing, and there was like about 12 of us meeting to do a book signing. And when I walked in the door, they said, "Here comes Rocky." So fear me. Don't try anything with me.
Any other questions? Real quick, we're going to wind this up. Any other questions? When did you two meet?
What is it?
When did you two meet?
Oh, the first convention I went to was in 1951 in Freeport, Illinois. And I was going to meet another motor maid from Canada, Audrey Shirk Alexander, but at that time we were, both single. And so we made a date to meet at Tuesday noontime at Dot Robinson Motorcycle dealership. So Audrey came in from Canada, and I came in from Clifton, New Jersey, and we met at Dot Robinson's motorcycle shop.
In Detroit.
Dot took us home with her, and they took us on their yacht, her and her husband, over to Canada to have dinner. They treated us like queens. And the next day I met Betty, because Betty was newly married, I believe, at that time. And she was going to convention with her mother, and that's when I first met Betty.
Very cool. Any other questions out there? Any other questions? So, if you look at this, not only is this a once-in-a-lifetime experience, but it's a liberating moment at what we have here. I look at these women and say, because you could do it, I can. So for those women who have never rode their own bike, understand that the only thing that holds you back, whether it's riding your own bike or succeeding in your career or doing anything else, the only thing that holds you back is your ability. Because there's nothing. There's nothing. It's all here. These women have succeeded past and beyond anything that was possible. They did it all. These women have conquered every fear and every inhibition that was laid out before them. So please give them a round of applause right now and understand that they are motorcycle royalty. They are the royalty of today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
God bless them. May we meet again when they're 100 years old and have this conversation again. God bless them. So what we're going to do is we're going to give away some more gift prizes. We're going to let these two ladies get off stage. I'm sure they're very tired. Hopefully everybody's got their... Please give them a round of applause. They have come so far and accomplished so much. Please give them the honor they deserve.